Big business story we're tracking for you, a very public battle for control of Rogers Communications. Last night, ousted chair Edward Rogers held a meeting with the 5 new board members that he appointed just last week. Rogers says he was elected chair at that meeting and now plans to go to the BC Supreme Court to have that decision verified. Rogers was turfed last week by the company's board, which includes members of his own family. This lawyer you're about to hear from represents one of Edward's sisters. He says this is not a happy day.
She's saddened by all that's transpiring and is really focused on the interests of the employees, the fans, the subscribers, and ensuring that we can get through this difficult period, hopefully much stronger.
Aida Wahid is a professor at the University of Toronto's Rotman School of Business. Good to have you part of our coverage today. An unusual situation. What do you make of it?
Thank you for having me. It's a very unusual situation. I guess it's not very unusual to have family-owned firms and to have a similar structure of a company with dual-class shares. But it's very unusual to have this much power concentrated with one individual, and for the family battle to take place in such an open view of everyone, right? So we've all seen what's happening. It's unusual to have family drama play out in public space like we've seen in the past few days.
Yeah, especially in Canada, and this family feud, including the fact that Mary Rogers, on Twitter over the weekend suggesting that her brother's actions weren't legitimate as well. And so a big smackdown going on. I see Ed has appointed himself the chairman, LOL. This should be taken as seriously as if he appointed himself the King of England. What do you make of this? Where does this go here?
Well, it's an interesting statement that she made. I think just because something hasn't been done before and there is no legal precedent, it doesn't mean it's illegal. I think that unfortunate fact is that the late Ted Rogers created this setup in which he essentially allowed one person to be almost like a business dictator. And so the way that Ed Rogers is acting is essentially an outcome of corporate structure that was put in place by the father. So we will see how this all plays out. My guess is that in the end, Edward Rogers is going to succeed in making his will and appointing new board and, if he wills, appointing a new CEO. Whether that's going to be possible immediately or this process is going to take a little longer, that's to be seen, but I suspect that he will be successful in his attempts.
Aida, for people who are trying to make sense of all of this, and it can get a little confusing, all the back and forth, I mean, what's really at stake here? Control of the company? Yeah,
it's a control of a company. Essentially, the battle is really about who is making the decisions. And so in a regular corporation, it would usually be the board of directors that makes decisions about CEO succession, and major decisions of the corporations go through the board. But because of the power structure that's in place at Rogers, it is possible for one individual, in this case, Edward Rogers, who's a chairman or was a chairman of Rogers Communication and then appointed himself chairman again of Rogers Communication, it's possible for him to essentially exert his will. It's something that you don't see done very commonly, because usually there are checks and balances in place in corporations that do not allow one person to make decisions, but that's not the case in this situation.
How much damage do you think this does to Rogers' image as a company?
Well, it certainly has done some damage already, and we can see that from the share price decline, especially today. And I think that also the tweets that are coming out from the family, as I understand that there's a lot of frustration from the family because the way this whole situation unfolded is quite unfortunate. But the tweets also don't help the situation in a way, because if you think about it, if you're a regular investor in Rogers Communications and you have no power because you hold non-voting shares, you would have to be a little bit concerned about what is going on at top. And it's just not something that gives you a lot of confidence as an investor. And I think that's something that companies in general fear. You never want to lose investor trust, right?
Good point. Aida, thank you for taking some time for CTV News.